Hey everybody, welcome back to Black Magic Craft. My favorite horror franchise, actually my favorite film franchise of all time, is Hellraiser. Yes, it has a whole bunch of garbage movies put out by a studio just trying to protect its copyright, but the first two films, plus the fourth, and to a lesser degree the third, to me are horror perfection. Clive Barker is my favorite author of all time, and I love the novel that this series is based on. I just really like Hellraiser, okay? I ended up with an extra VHS copy. Yes, I collect VHS. And I was looking at this tape and realized VHS has a bit of dimension to it, a bit of thickness, a bit of empty space. It's got some clear windows. How cool would it be to make a little scene inside a VHS tape that relates to the actual movie? What I want to do is set a certain scene, a certain setting inside this tape, and there is the classic attic with the plastered, lath and plaster walls, you know, with light coming through it and all the chains. I just want to make that room, no characters, and I think it'll be really neat. This is just going to be a decoration for my office. I don't know if this is going to work, and if it doesn't, I'm in trouble. That should be it. All right, so there's that piece. Now the actual tape reels. Part of me feels bad about ditching these. I'm gonna put them aside nicely for now. You never know. Now we have the shell. So if that goes back together, okay, hold on. There's some little parts falling out. I don't think they matter. I just need the case and the screws. Looks good. I have a very limited amount of space to work here. So I'm gonna make this iconic wall with the lath and plaster. I've gotta make sure it fits inside of whatever thickness I have here, with some room for dimensionality. I want some depth of field, although it's gonna be very limited. Because those slats in the wall, what makes them so iconic is the light behind them. I wanna have a way to have light behind them. But what that means is that I'll have to set this wall section away from this, so there's some area for light to bleed through. I'm going to use some chipboard. This is just some thin, densely packed paper to be the foundation of my wall. The actual viewable area is only these little windows here. I'm gonna mark out how wide the viewable space is here. So this is the area that actually, oh no. Okay, that's fine. I'm just gonna wing it. This is my favorite way to create. Why is this so difficult? Okay, this should fit like, oh, why doesn't that fit? Oh, interesting. I didn't even realize that the shape of this case is different here versus here. So they aren't the same. Okay, there we go. Both are filled. Right, left. Cool. I want lath, which is like little wood strips, and then I want plaster. But I also want a lot of holes cut out here so that light can shine through. That's good. Might not be pretty, but it should be effective. Now I need a whole bunch of those wood strips. Now's a good time to tell you about this video's sponsor, Into the AM. They make awesome clothing, specifically t-shirts. They've got a constantly updating line of interesting graphic prints, as well as basic tees, which I highly recommend if you want something soft, comfy, and well-fitting that won't shrink in the dryer. Right now is the best possible time to load up on their shirts. They've got a killer Black Friday sale going that's got a site-wide 30% to 80% discount. Yeah, that's a lot. What makes this even better is that you can use my discount code in the video description to get an additional 10% off your order. Yes, that means you can combine the two sales for a maximum 90% off certain items. It's crazy. This sale's not gonna last long, so be sure to hit them up right away before it's too late. I mean it, these shirts are comfy, super soft, excellent for tall folks like myself. Check them out, Into the AM. Now I had something stable to work off of, and I could focus on the additional layers and figuring out a way to assemble everything. Creating the plaster layer was very simple. I just used construction paper that I ripped to give it a textured edge. Just like with the wood lath pieces, I used super glue to get this layer quickly bonded together. Since the viewing area on the tape was pretty small, I made sure to keep checking that what I was doing looked right when actually within that space. Most of these inner panels would actually be covered and never seen. I decided to make the rest of the process a little bit easier by aligning the two sides, making sure the planks were sitting perpendicular to the tape and attaching them together with some popsicle sticks. This would lock in their position and allow me to quickly pull the assembly in and out without fiddling around too much and give me something to hold on to later when painting. To make the wall section sit with a bit of space in front of it, I glued in 2 strips of foam core that the wall section could rest on. This only gave about a 1/4 inch of space between the clear plastic and the wall section, but this would be just enough to give it some depth and hang some dangling chains. I also put a double layer foam core on the back panel of the VHS. This would give me a guide as to how much space I had to work with for the lights. And the lights, well, I have some of these fairy lights I bought in bulk a way back for various projects. They're cheap, decently bright, have a switch and a battery holder, but are an absolute pain in the ass to work with because the LEDs are spread so far apart on this fiddly bit of wire. But with enough finagling, they can be made to work. To keep the battery accessible so I could change it later, I glued the battery case to the back of the tape. This would prevent me from being able to slide it back into the sleeve, but I didn't really care. I needed to diffuse the light with something. I didn't want bright glowing dots of blue showing through. This is always such a difficult part of integrating light into a small area. There just isn't the room required to put space between a light source, a diffuser, and the viewable object. But I did what I could using some wet palette paper. This was far from ideal, but it was serviceable and the best I came up with using what I had on hand. Feeling somewhat confident in the setup, I got to work painting the wall piece. When it came to blood splatter, I tried just flicking some speed paint off the bristles of a brush, and it really wasn't working. Then I tried hitting another brush to splatter the paint, and this worked so good. Nice small droplets with some splatter lines. I don't know why I've never thought to do this before. This is the way to do it. To help with depth perception in this shallow space, I also splattered some blood on the clear plastic of the tape. And I really like the layer effect this created. This is a really nice touch. Chains were pretty easy. I had the perfect size of decorative jewelry chain on hand, but I wanted at least one hook. The hooks are so iconic in this franchise. Using some wire, I managed to make a pretty convincing meat hook that I could attach to the chain. The process of gluing the chain into the case was both awkward and a little bit silly, but you know what? It worked well in the end. After I glued the wall section permanently into the case, I added a few more lengths of chain behind it to create some silhouettes and further break up the lighting. Thankfully, cassette tapes are easy to put back together, a few screws, and that was that. It looked super cool. For real. I'm so pumped about this. This was essentially just a prototype of an idea, and despite the limited space in the tape, I think it was a huge success. And now that I know what I'm working with, I think I can make some cool ones for other movies in the future. This time with a bit of informed planning. The holes in the back of the tape provide extra backlighting when displayed on a shelf. This wasn't something I had thought of or done intentionally, but it's a great freebie and I'll gladly take it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and let me know in the comments section below. And of course, if you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. Head over to blackmagiccraft.ca to check out my essential equipment page where I list all of the stuff that I use regularly so you can find it and get it for yourself. If you really like these videos I make and you want to help me keep making them, the best way you can do that is by supporting the channel on Patreon. I'd love to have you as the newest member of the Black Magic Craft Fellowship. That's it for this one. Cheers.